first time. I'm Gareth Ward. I'm editor of Print Business magazine in the UK, one of the leading trade titles in the English language, we hope and we believe. And with me today, I have Dario Urbinati and Franz Allerkamp from ACTEGA Metal Print. I think I should let them introduce themselves so that you get their names correct and the correct pronunciation of them. So can you tell us who you are and why you're here? Dario, go first.
Dario Urbinati. I am responsible for sales, marketing and service at ACTEGA Metal Print since 1.5 years. Previously, I was more than a decade in the label printing industry in different functions on different continents. We are here to talk with you about EcoLeaf, a fantastic new technology for metallization of printed products.
Jan. Can you introduce yourself, sir?
Yes, my name is Franz Allerkamp, Chief Executive Officer of ACTEGA Metal Print. We are a small but very promising startup inside the big ACTEGA Altana organization, which is a 2.5 billion euro turnover company active in various areas of chemistry. And since 3 years now, we are active in providing a new category of metallization to the graphic arts industry, and are developing this technology to a product and are just in the phase of bringing it to a commercial level.
So this product we saw at Drupa 2016 in a concept form, in a prototype form. How did you come by it, and what is that? What has happened since 2016, since we first saw it and went, wow, this looks quite interesting?
Okay, so maybe I start off with the first question. We took over the technology in February 2017, which is a bit more than 3 years ago. And basically, when we took over the technology, we had nothing but the patents that were there, in addition to, of course, all of the pre-work by Benny Lander and his team. Since then, we built up a complete new company comprising of chemistry, engineering, as well as product management, marketing, and service capabilities to bring this technology idea or concept to a product. So we have developed a series of different prototypes. The latest series of the prototype is now in beta phase and are just in the process of developing a new series, which will be the first industrial series which we are going to sell to the market.
So what precisely is this technology, and why is it different, better, we hope, than other similar technology or other ways of applying metal decoration to a printed product?
Our technology applies only the needed amount of metal on the substrate to metallize. So we're working with pigments. These pigments marry a trigger image, which you apply with flexo, rotary screen, flatbed printing, or inkjet. This trigger image is then cured. On top, we apply pigments in the only necessary amount, and thereof we get rid of a lot of waste, particularly if you produce a job which previously was made or produced with the help of cold foil or hot foil. So we can get rid of the foil usage and thereof get rid of a lot of waste used for decorating labels in particular.
So you don't have any of the polyester backing material?
Correct.
And is it so the pigments are any color you like, or are you limited to one or two colors at the moment, or what are the thoughts in that direction?
Currently, we are using silver pigments, aluminum pigments. So we do have a metallization technology ready for silver. You can change the color of metallization by colorizing the trigger image, conventionally applied trigger image, or by overprinting with flexo or inkjet, and therefore create different colors of metallization.
In the same way that you might overprint a cold foil.
Correct.
And is the effect of the same standard as you would expect to get from a conventional foil application?
See, we do a one-to-one replication with metal pigments of the underlying trigger image. So if you're able to apply, for example, high definition flexo, you're able to print very fine resolution today with flexo, and we do one-to-one replication of this high resolution flexo with the metal pigments. So thereof, you're able to produce extremely fine metallized images, half-tone printing, very fine lines, but also very nice surfaces. Next to that, because we are able to apply the trigger image with screen, you're able to produce tactile metallized effects on filmic substrates, for example, or on open paper.
So the quality is limited by the ability to print the trigger image.
Correct.
So if you can, have you tried, what's the kind of finest lines that you can produce? Is there any limit?
No, we have not tested the lower limit, but if you use high definition flexo, we are pretty confident that you achieve a very, very high quality of fine metallization surface.
And you can get the same, an even effect over a larger area also.
Correct.
Because it only adheres where the trigger image is underneath.
Yes, correct.
And if there's no trigger image, it doesn't adhere.
Correct. Yes.
Clever. So what is the next stage? What happens now? You mentioned that you've got a couple of beta sites or a beta product that you've been testing in the field. What sort of companies are using that? Have you chosen to work with in that respect?
So at the beginning of the year, the plan was to install a small number of beta sites prior to Drupa and launch the commercialization of the technology at Drupa. Now, obviously, not only Drupa did not happen this year, but COVID-19, of course, made our installation or rollout plan of the betas much more difficult. And that's the reason why, until now, we have only installed 2 machines in the German market, and we're struggling a bit with the installation in the other European countries. However, now, since the situation is becoming better, we are hoping that in the next couple of weeks, we are able to install the betas we were agreeing for other European markets. And the customers range very broadly over the self-adhesive label industry, from wine label focused ones to big multinational ones, to small niche players, to cosmetic players. So it's a quite broad range of different label converters. Most of them, of course, are always focusing on high-end embellishments in combination with a strong and clear commitment for sustainability.
And the sustainability aspect is, well, you call it EcoLeaf, so that must be a key aspect of the development and the appeal of the product.
Our value proposition, of course, consists of the promise to be more sustainable than comparable foil-based metallization technologies. And simply by avoiding polyester film, which you need to produce to send around the globe in larger quantities, which is heavy and bulky, we realize a significant positive impact on the sustainability level for our customers and for the brand owners.
So the technology is, you're using a standard rotary screen or flatbed screen or a flexo print unit to apply a latent image or the trigger image.
Yes.
So that's a consumable that you have the trigger image material.
Correct.
And then how does the metal attach? And you have a UV curing stage or a curing stage, and then the metal is pressed into position or lands into position, or what does the unit comprise, the technology comprise in that respect?
The trigger image is cured with conventional UV systems right after applying, and you apply the pigments directly on top of the trigger image, on the cured trigger image, and they bond to each other. This process is done in a so-called metallization unit. In the metallization unit, we have a central drum. We call it the donor roller. On this donor roller, we apply a mono layer of pigments with applicators and burnishers. And this mono layer is transferred in kiss print to the trigger image in that process.
And then presumably the donor roller is completely covered.
The donor roller is completely covered. There where it touches the trigger image, of course, you take away the pigments, you transfer the pigments, and here and after the pigments are replenished.
As it continues around for the next circuit. How fast does this operate at the moment? Is it at a commercial speed, or do you have to slow the line down to a snail's pace?
We run in our competence center. We run currently between 70 and 80 meters per minute. Of course, the goal is to drive it higher, but there is a bit of work to do in order to achieve higher speeds.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is early days.
Yeah.
And at the moment, is it limited in width to 330 mils, or is it?
The current metallization unit is 440 millimeters. So suitable for substrates of 430 millimeters, which is a standard dimension in the label industry. You can use it for narrower substrates, of course. Mm-hmm. For wider ones, we shall see what we're going to develop next.
So if you could have a wider web, but only apply the foil in a limited part of that web.
Yeah, you have problems to have a wider web on a...
Yeah, when you have a closed web, of course, but yeah. But you'll be looking at that type of extension to the product over time.
We're looking at it.
Yeah, and you were talking about industrialization, the next generation of the product. Can you talk a little bit about what we might see coming forward, and the timescale for that?
So first of all, it's important when you look backwards, the technology was a combination of different in-house or lab scale developments. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot of time to industrialize the different components, because at the end of the day, you are talking about the so-called trigger image, the aluminum pigment, a potential overprint varnish. You are talking about the metallization unit comprising the donor roller, application roller, some other spare parts. And all of these different components needed an industrialization process, meaning we have now professional manufacturing partners. For the chemistry, all of them come from our mother or sister company in Altana in ACTEGA. For the non-chemistry parts, we work with external manufacturing partners of a very well reputation. Going forward, the idea is obviously now to explore our opportunities in the self-adhesive label market. However, this will not be the end of the story, but just the starting point. And we have some further ideas in the area of folding carton and flexible packaging, which we are starting to explore on a conceptual basin level. But we haven't come to a point yet where we really have a product idea already in mind.
So what particular challenges did you have to overcome?
Well, if you talk, for example, specifically about folding carton, bear in mind, first of all, the printing speed is very different to the label industry. Second of all, an inline integration might be more complex into a KBA or Heidelberg press compared to a narrow web printing press.
Of course, yeah.
The printing of the trigger image right now in our case is solely UV based, because in our first target market, the trigger image or lacquers are usually printed with UV technology. And this is how we developed our trigger image until now. But in folding carton, we might need to change also to different trigger image formulations. And in addition, we are not able yet to print the trigger image, for example, in offset.
Okay.
Which might also limit right now our capabilities in folding carton. But again, we have not technically started to address the requirements of this market yet. Simply because our approach is let's first finalize a real product into the label market, and then after and in parallel build on these learnings for the second product.
So how fast do you think you will get to the commercialization stage now?
You mean for the label industry? Or?
Yeah, for the label. I mean, you have, the BETA's program has been disrupted through no fault of yours. So the idea had, as you said, had been to commercialize a Drupa. Are you now running?
So first of all, we have already seen successful jobs by one of our beta customers who has been able to sell this technology to their end customer. So we regard this as a very important step in terms of the commercialization of our technology. The next step, of course, will be to come from a small number of jobs to a high number of jobs in the beta phase. We expect this will take some weeks and months over this year. So by the end of the year, we hope the machines we have in the market will run at a high percentage of commercial jobs. And this, from our perspective, is the last and final indication that this technology can be really commercialized. However, already today, and this is what Dario said previously, we are prepared to enter commercial discussions simply because the interest in our technology is so high that we want to build up a long-term pipeline of potential interested parties in order to select the right partners for the different steps of our rollout campaign.
So are you going to be responsible for taking this to market yourselves? Will people be buying this through ACTEGA metal print, or do you envisage partners, OEM partners, perhaps taking this to market, or other ways of getting there?
We operate with different channels. One channel we did announce already 2 weeks ago, which is the one with ABG, which we regard of very high interest because the customers of ABG are the perfect customers also for Ecoleaf. However, we will also use other channels, maybe our own and maybe other OEMs, but this is nothing where we can report already any final agreements yet.
No, of course. Of course, you say that the brands and end customers have been happy with the quality. What there's a sustainability benefit to brands as well, because there seems to be a renewed interest in sustainable products, partly perhaps as a result of the pandemic, the COVID situation. Is that what you're finding, or is your timing very fortuitous?
See, Gareth, if you look in the larger landscape of multinational brand owners, and you know all of them, I would say a most significant part of the brand owners has announced sustainability goals.
Absolutely, yeah.
Most of them announced also a certain timeline, and some of them said, okay, they want to get rid of non-reusable plastics until 2025, and others say, okay, we want to reduce significantly our CO2 footstep, and so forth. There is a variety of goals transported into the industry. And of course, with Ecolive, we contribute with our technology and in the framework of our possibilities to those goals. And we are now in the phases of market introduction, of commercialization, as Franz said. We are building up the pipeline of interested partners and parties in the market. And we see not just the big interest coming from printers, label printers, but also from folding carton printers for future ventures, but also from the brand owners, to which we, of course, talk with pleasure, and also transport advantages of our technology and explain the possibilities how to contribute to their long-term goals.
Yeah, I mean, the transport benefits must be, have you measured those, or how that seems, rather than transporting reels of polyester and metal around Europe,
there are a variety of attributes which can be measured in terms of sustainability. It's not just transports and logistics, it's also a foil producing, it's a CO2 footprint, it's climate change, supporting gases and attributes. So we are in process of collecting those data, because of course we need to provide the necessary studies and evidence. And so far we are pretty happy with what we learned in that process.
So you will be able to come up with some kind of carbon impact statement that will go along with as the product hits the market.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, so what has been the effect? We've spoken about the impacts of the COVID in terms of delaying route to market and the commercialization. Are there opportunities for you as a result of COVID, do you think? Is it increasing? Is it changing the way that converters and brands think in that respect?
Well, obviously for us, the big goal for this year would have been to commercialize, go to the market at Drupa, which obviously doesn't happen. Organizing a Drupa and go to Drupa also absorbs resources in terms of manpower, money, time, testing, facilities, time, etc. Not going to Drupa has led to an additional window for us for additional testing, for additional developing in our competence center, for looking in depth into additional application, which we could test and transport to our customer base. For example, we tested backside printing on transparent substrate, which we most probably wouldn't have done previous to Drupa, and we came up with an application here which leads to very promising results. There are opportunities, and of course we cannot change the world, and we're making the best out of it, and we are confident that we utilize the additional window of activities in our competence center very wisely, and nevertheless, despite of the COVID situation, we still are in process with our beta candidates. You have seen our press release, and it was announced to the market that the first major beta customer has received the unit and started up operation. So we don't put our heads into the sand, but we continue with our project as we're supposed to do.
And that relies.
Maybe I can add some points from the customer side. So obviously, will have a huge impact on the way we live, and it will have a huge impact also on the label industry when it comes to more sustainable printing products. And I think this is a big driver also for our technology. The second point is, of course, not the entire label industry is hit by this situation in the same way. The food industry, especially if you deliver into supermarkets, is booming right now, where maybe more luxurious parts of the label industry in the cosmetic space or the wine and spirit area are feeling the first downturn in terms of their production. And this might be the opportunity for us to use their capability and production time to test our technology, which is a good thing. The caveat is, of course, how this crisis will impact the investment situation of our potential customers. And this is, I have to say, quite early to say how huge the impact will be and how reluctant maybe our future customers will be in the coming months and years to take on additional investments in this crisis.
But if you have a clear enough sustainability advantage, presumably the brands will be pushing their suppliers to demonstrate improvements in sustainability and environmental responsibility, which is a trump card for you.
Correct.
It's not just, our value proposition, and that's also something we transport very openly to the market, is of course driven by sustainability, but it's also our intention to provide better economics. And from my own humble experience and discussion with brand owners and printers, sustainability is very good. It's very, very demanded. But at the end of the day, you need to have a certain economic framework which allows to use this technology in order to create, without creating too much damage in the wallet.
Yeah.
And it's clearly our goal to provide a technology, a metallization solution which is sustainable, but also on a TCO level provides economic advantages to the customers. And given these two cornerstones of our value proposition alongside with additional elements of our value prop, should clearly give us the necessary edge in order to transport this technology to the market. However, this technology is new. We are at the beta phase right now. We are commercializing. We are developing application, and the upcoming months and most probably years will show how the market will react with the current changes and the so-called new normal as it is transported in widest part of the global presses.
But presumably you're getting an awful lot of interest from across the sector for people wanting you to develop to suit their particular application, and you possibly need to manage that.
That's absolutely right. We get very good interest. We're very happy to have sustainably positive impact from the market, which is confirmed by discussions we have with printers, brand owners, design agencies, etc. It's a challenge to find the right partners currently to start with a new technology, with a new category of metallization, as we always say, and go with us the way in order to develop a mass technology in a few years from now. Currently, early movers are those which we approach with this new technology in the market.
So 12 months from now, where will you be? I mean, apart from hopefully just after Drupa, we hope. Where will the technology be? Where will ACTEGA metal print be? Will there be 2 installations, or 20 or 200? Will they just be in Germany, or just Europe, or all over the world?
200 would be a bit challenging. That would be many installations in a short period of time.
Sure.
We in 12 months from now, we have successfully concluded the beta program. We are much ahead with application development. In 12 months from now, we had a lot of time to test our technology also in relation with different substrate, ink systems, combination printing, etc. Something which we really drive forward during the running beta phase. And of course, in the upcoming 12 months, we will have more than just 2 handful installations in the market running and producing.
And you'll be looking at taking the technology into other areas in that time frame, or is that further into the future, things like carton and flexible packaging? Are they
currently focus on the label industry in the European Union.
Yeah.
It's our home turf. It's close by to our headquarters in Lehrte. But the steps to take it on to different geographic markets, they are planned. And as Franz said previously, the technical challenges and the technical route to develop new application in direction of sheet fed, etc., they need to be addressed first.
Okay, I think that's a good place to end. Franz, you got any final thoughts there?
No. Thanks for your time.
Thank you for your time. I think it's
and to give a bit more insight on our technology and on our plans going forward. And looking forward to stay in contact and report on the progress of our beta program.
Well, we'll be keeping contact with you on that and making sure it goes forward. And we look forward to seeing the things reach other markets other than just the small area around where you are in Germany, as the rest of Europe starts to open up again.